I'm Dave Gardner, co-host of the GrowthBusters podcast about coming to terms with limits to growth. We've got a planet to save. World population is supposed to pass through the 8 billion milestone on November 15th, 2022. So I'm taking to the streets to find out if this is progress.
8 billion? Dang. It just keeps going up, huh?
I knew it was coming, but not so quickly.
How long do you think it took us to add the last 1 billion people?
Probably like the 90s.
11 years.
Oh.
7 billion 11 years ago, 8 billion November 15th. Is that?
Human population is going like this, and then it's called a hockey puck.
Global population is just increasing dramatically. There's so many people being born every day.
All we do is copulate.
We're adding about 90 million people to the planet every year. Are things getting better or are they getting worse?
Oh, I don't think that they're going to... I don't think they'll get better for much longer.
What's gotten better?
To be honest, nothing really.
Has anything gotten worse?
The environment?
No.
The fact that we're getting all this stuff happening with the climate going all goofy is also going to be really making that problem a lot worse.
The ice caps are melting.
What about the climate?
I think climate is it's cyclical.
So the climate crisis isn't troubling you?
No. Maybe in like 100 years or so it would do effects, but not at the moment.
The average person is dumber than they were 10 years ago.
With all the CO2 emissions, I lived in Florida, so I've even seen, the ocean's level rise and take away islands that we used to play on as a kid.
It presents some challenges, and hopefully we're innovative enough to rise to those challenges. Well, how do you think we're doing?
Nature World News just reported an unprecedented global extinction crisis with more than 1 million species expected to die off in the next few decades. The bees are all dying, and the coral reefs. Fish populations in the ocean are collapsing.
The rivers around the world that are drying up.
There's a major crisis in the American West right now because the reservoirs are all at record low levels.
Oh, that's super scary. The water, how the water going to the Pacific from Colorado doesn't even make it because of population.
People are finally coming to terms with the fact that there's no prospect for us to fill those reservoirs back up. We're just using too much water, and I thought, well, maybe there's a connection to population there.
Oh, definitely.
The fires that are every year, a hurricane that tore across Florida.
Do you think that has any impact on pandemics?
Yeah, I think it could make it spread a little faster because there's more people to go around.
No one really has, respect for one another or manners.
Are we becoming kinder and more compassionate?
Slowly, hopefully, working towards it.
Wow.
Towards it.
Is the traffic getting better? Are houses more affordable than they were a decade ago? Food prices?
Mostly too high.
The traffic is definitely an issue of some absolute idiot playing this city out.
Did you see that film, Idiocracy?
Yes.
A couple of minutes for a quick question or two? You must be hungry or thirsty. Would one of you be interested in letting me ask you just like 2 questions?
Are you a YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Oh,
You are?
Uh-huh.
What's your YouTube channel?
It's GrowthBusters.
GrowthBusters. Okay. Cool. Interesting. Well, I already know.
Another no. Geez, you know what? I'm going to have to take off this name tag. People look at it and see GrowthBusters and they run. They're afraid to talk about population.
On the plus side, there's a lot of open land in America.
Yes, we do have space. Point conceded. It's not about space. It's about resources.
We are living idiocracy.
Yeah. Didn't know it was a documentary, did you?
No.
Scientists say it would require almost an entire other Earth to produce the resources we need to sustain the population we have now. It would take 5 Earths to support the population if everyone consumed like the average American, which most of the world wants to do.
There are so many resources to go around, and the more people that need to use those resources, the worse the world gets because there's less resources per person.
As population increases, we have to dig up more fossil fuels, which destroys the ozone.
Look, there's a limit to the carrying capacity of the planet. You can only have so many people total. and eventually we're going to reach that. Can't grow forever.
Given the resources scarcity and what's ever going on and the climate changes, I think lesser would be good.
The fundamental constraint is labor. There are not enough people.
It's more like 8 billion slaves to feed the few.
Tell me one thing that's gotten better as we've added 1 billion people to the planet over the last 11 years.
I guess I'd say strengthen the youth, and I feel like my generation especially is trying to do a lot of things for environmental cause and change. I have a lot of hope for us.
I can't emphasize this enough. There are not enough people.
So is 8 billion too many, or just right, or not enough?
It depends how we use our natural resources, how we use, especially square footage, arable land, that kind of thing. If we're able to irrigate, if we're able to use technology to keep the soil fertile and do things to make sure we have food.
There's something that Bill Gates is doing, where they're bringing in these scrubbers or whatever that are bringing in carbon monoxide from the environment and filtering it and making it oxygen again.
The probable lifespan of human civilization will be much greater if we're a multi-planet species. It is a bit tricky because we have to figure out how to improve the cost of trips to Mars by 5 million%.
The peak rate of population growth was around 1970, when the global population was growing at about 2% per year. And now we've fallen below 1%.
That is making some people nervous. They're telling women they need to start making more babies.
Having a larger population of younger people entering the workforce helps to ensure that there are enough taxpayers supporting the needs of our seniors.
On the one hand, a decreasing population means that there are more older people, and there's fewer young people to do labor. But ideally with automation, we need less and less labor.
Now there's a growing movement of people more worried about population decline. Decline, that's what we should be celebrating. But Elon Musk says,
the biggest problem the world will face in 20 years is population collapse.
oh, come on, of all the excuses not to wear a condom.
I think one of the biggest risks to civilization is the low birth rate and the rapidly declining birth rate.
You know, billionaire Elon Musk has said that population collapse is a bigger threat than the climate crisis. Do you, how do you feel about that? Do you think maybe he flunked math and science?
I think he did.
This is the real solution to climate change. Babies.
Birth rates are declining in our country. And throughout government, it seems that federal policies exist that unintentionally discourage creating marriages, having families.
Problems of human imagination are not solved by more laws. They're solved by more humans.
My girlfriend has 2 girls. She wants 4 kids, and I told her I'm not having any kids from my loins.
I think that overpopulation to the point of collapse is completely is understandable that it could come to the point of collapse.
The Earth has its own goals, I think, and I think we'd be better off we don't get in the way.
Let's figure out a way to be happy without always having to grow and grow and grow and always keep growing.
Yo, snip 'em, boys. Shit.